All right, guys, moving into the better part of our show. Maqwell, again, bro, thank you so much for being here. Excited to have the conversation. And we're going to jump into the featured part of the interview, which is you. I want to talk about your content, your channel, and why it's so different from anything else that you could find on this spectrum of football or soccer content. Considering how many casual fans are tuning in to the World Cup, especially here in the States, I've seen, I feel like every hot take you can have in the book. But what I'm also seeing on platforms like YouTube is everyone's kind of tending to almost copy each other when it comes to the type of content that gets created. What stands out to me, man, in a really big way is your content. It's almost a perfect blend of informative, entertaining, amusing, kind of trolly in some ways, but really, really good, and tells a story that most other creators on this side of the world are just not doing, which is why you've grown your channel now to well over 100,000 subs, and you just keep climbing and climbing. I want to jump into everything you're doing on the content front, but before we do, I start all of our guest segments with one single question, and it's open-ended. You can answer it however you see fit. But Maqwell, who are you today?
Who am I today? That's an interesting question. To be honest, I don't even know. I'm a YouTuber. You know, I do this full time now, which has always been a dream of mine since I was like 8 years old. Hold on one second, my LED light just turned off.
Great timing.
We just replace this battery real quick.
Yeah. We better keep this in the video, by the way.
We will. We're keeping this in. This is not going away. We're keeping this in.
I'm a YouTuber. Lights off.
Yeah. There it is.
I can't say
show's over.
Professional YouTuber. I love that. No, I still use, like, everyone has, like, I've looked at people. I've been like visiting different creators as of late, looking at like their different setups and stuff, and like they'll have all these like ring lights and stuff. I mean, like, I'm looking at what's your name again? I forgot. Leah?
Oh, Lena? Yeah.
Alina. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm just looking at her setup, and it's like miles better than mine. Like, I just have like an LED light. Oh my god!
I just have a random piano that I don't use just for the looks.
No, it stands in my laundry. You know, like I got a random lamp. It doesn't even work. It's just here. It's just creating like some kind of space. You know, you can literally see my camera equipment right here. No,
I love it.
But yeah, I guess back to the question. I'm just kind of a YouTuber. Ever since like the 100K milestone, I've just been kind of like trying to explore different ways to, I guess, improve my content and ways to, I guess, just grow even more. It'd be cool to one day hit that like gold plaque, but I don't think it'll ever happen. But you never know, because I said the same thing about the 100K one. Recently I had like a goal where I was like, what if I just hit like gained 100,000 subs in like one single year, and I just managed to do that a few days ago, so that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Round of applause. 100%
major props, dude.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, outside of just like improving the content, I guess just trying to fulfill other parts of my life. The last like 3 years through like COVID and just like video editing, my social skills have like absolutely dipped because all I've been doing is just editing. So
that's all of us, bro. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like next year, I just kind of want to, you know, I just recently bought a laptop, so now I can actually like edit outside of just here. So I just want to travel places. Like the big place of like big dream I've always wanted to go was like Japan. Like Japan's been like I feel like everyone has to go to Japan at like one point in their life, and I feel like it's about time I do that. I feel like I should just do that when I'm young.
Totally.
And then any time later than that. But yeah, I guess it's just a matter of just finding new goals and achieving them. Because, you know, it's just that hunger that kind of drives you farther than anything else.
I love it, man.
That's awesome.
I love it. And just to kind of, and what we'll do, you know, for this interview today, that's a great summary, by the way. But, and that's, you know, that question that I ask, it always, I think people perceive it to be kind of awkward, right? It's like, I don't even know how to answer that question. And I think that's kind of the point, right? Is like, I don't want to structure anybody's responses to be one specific thing. Like, you tell me how you would define yourself and your content. And I think that's how any creator, any person should be introduced to the world. So I love asking that question to kind of kick things off. But as a piggyback on that, and we'll kind of let everybody chime in with questions as they see fit. But just again, to kind of piggyback on the first one, I mentioned before how I feel like your videos and your channel is just this fantastic blend of, you know, whether it's, you mentioned throwing up on the Tottenham jersey earlier, right? That comes from a video where you helped raise some money for a great cause, great charity. But in order to get those funds, you promised your audience something that I never would have promised them, to be honest. That was kind of crazy. But putting on a Spurs jersey, as a fellow Arsenal fan, I can tell you, I probably would have burst into flame. I don't know what would have happened. But like, when we think about these ideas that you have, whether it's for a good cause or simply just to create more captivating content, I'm really curious, man. Like, you've done everything from some of those charity specific videos to a history of Venezia and what it means to the city of Venice in Italy. Like, where does the inspiration come from? Are you a football historian? Do you find a lot of pleasure in the research aspect of it all, or do you just stumble across these football stories as a fan and want to dive a little bit deeper?
I think it's the last one, because for the most part, like how I kind of discover some of these stories, or sometimes like my video ideas, like usually most of my video ideas literally come from the shower, like they're literal shower thoughts.
I like that.
If it's not that, I'm just diving through Wikipedia. Like last year, I've always been someone who's just like weirdly intrigued about like the stories of the tsunami disaster in Japan back in 2011. And I kind of looked at one day I was just kind of looking up like teams that were like affected by this. No results popped up. And then like a few months later this year, I just kind of looked through all the J League teams and everything, and I noticed this one team called Veigata Sendai, and I just kind of like read their biography and stuff. I noticed that someone had made a documentary, so I watched it. I was just like, you know what, this is a cool story. I want to talk about it. Like the thing about like I feel like why I haven't grown even more, because I feel like I could definitely do that, because you know you see people skyrocketing more than I am talking about the like relevant topics. I've never really given like that much of a shit about the most relevant topics. Like, yeah, I'll definitely do some of them as like jokes, like Mbappe rejects Madrid for PSG. Like, yeah, everyone's gonna want to talk about that. Of course, I can make like a bunch of memes out of it. But aside from that, I really just kind of want to do something that interests me, because that's what I've noticed throughout my entire life. If I'm not doing something that isn't interesting to me, I usually dread it. The predictions videos that I do, I hate them. I absolutely hate them. But it's like you kind of have to find that balance between what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And I'm sure like every single one of you guys have that feeling as well, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I think that even with this pod, right? Like if we didn't, and Andre, Lena, you guys can speak for yourselves, but if we didn't enjoy what we do, I mean, there's just no point in doing this, right? There's no point in talking about football or the creators who are building audiences. Like, and that's what the purpose of this show is. I think for anybody who's tuning in for the first time, is not just to be a generic football podcast. I mean, in the earliest days, it's definitely what we felt like. But I think more importantly, we wanted to tell stories that from an independent content creation perspective that very seldomly get told, that you almost never hear the backstory of a creator, why they are doing what they do, how COVID changed their perspective on what they want to be spending their day doing. All of those things, right? It's like, it's so interesting. And we're still very much, in my opinion, in the earliest days of people trying to have these creative hobbies and outlets that allow them to truly be themselves and enjoy what they do. So this is very much the case for us with Box to Box, but yeah, man, I think anybody who's watching this could probably resonate with that fact. Let me ask you on that piggyback, and then I'll let Andre and Alina kind of chime in. What do you find yourself? You said you enjoy, some of the other content a little bit more, stories that just don't get told that often, but that pique your curiosity. Is there something, and maybe you're saving it for a video, so you don't have to be, super detailed right now, but is there something that a story that you kind of have your eyes on that you maybe want to go out there and tell? Is there maybe something that you're kind of, I don't want to say working on, but there's like a topic out there in the football world that people never seem to really either tell that story accurately or just don't tell it at all?
That's a good question. I I don't know if there's like anything that no one's talked about in terms of like something like the Vigolta Sendai video. One video that I've wanted to do since like summer was the fall of Chinese football, because I always thought that was pretty funny. Me and my friend, like my best friend and I, we will go on Discord, we'll talk about like 600 different things, and somehow the conversation will always be like, oh man, I wonder how the Chinese Super League is doing. Go look at like the transfer market values. You'll see like a huge drop from like 300 million, the league value, from like 2019 to like 3 million the next year. And that's always kind of intrigued me. I've read stories about it. Tifo kind of did a video about it, but I know I can definitely do it in a different style. And I think that would be a really fun video to make. And hopefully, you know, it does well. I feel like it could definitely do well.
Yeah, 100%. Totally. Like, let me ask you, do you know the guys at Deadball TV?
What?
Deadball? It's just another YouTube channel.
Oh, no.
No, so they're still kind of relatively new. But Jack, one of the hosts on that show, he is a big like proponent of Asian football and the fact that those stories never get told, and especially on the Western side of the world, right? So he spent some time recently in South Korea. He's got a chance to connect with other creators out there, and has brought some of them onto his show. I love that. I think, you know, the fact that nobody ever wants to tell those stories, everybody just wants to put their own spin on the latest hat trick that Holland has scored in the Premier League, is you know, it's always kind of, I don't know, piques my curiosity. But anyway, Andre, Alina, you guys got anything?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I was looking at some of your videos. They're fucking awesome. But, you know, talking to a lot of creators, a lot of times they have an idea of like what their style is going to be right off the bat, right? Like when you kind of put pen to paper and then you go ahead and execute, like it's one thing to ideate and then it's another thing to actually fucking do it and like get likes and subs. In your own experience, like how did your style evolve? Like, did you have a template in mind or a structure and then it just changed over time, or is this pretty much been like since the inception how you've been?
I feel like it's definitely been like an evolution, because I've been kind of like, you know, I was like, when I was a little kid, I kind of like pretended to be a YouTuber and like,
that's awesome.
Be on my DS and shit and just like pretending to commentate over it. And I still like notice those like childlike wits that I have. It's just that they've kind of evolved over time and the humor's evolved over time. I think like the big thing for me is I don't really consume that much like football content on the internet. So most of the stuff I'm watching is just like video essays from like different types of topics. One of my favorite creators is Pirate Cynical. He did like an 8-hour video essay on this like obscure television show in the UK, and that was really cool. I absolutely love his style. It's just very engaging. And I guess like what I do is I usually take like my own wits and my own jokes, and I just combine that with everything that I find really entertaining and just
that's awesome.
You know, engaging in like all those other types of videos. So it's definitely been a process, you know. I think like one of my favorite things about the channel is just being able to kind of put that all together, like combine all those different aspects, and also just kind of like pour my own personality into this. Like everything that I put out there is very much like genuinely me to a certain extent. Like obviously it's a little over exaggerated here or there, but like for the most part, that's all me.
You can tell.
Maqwell is the main king of YouTube.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. Just a quick follow up, and then I'll let Alina ask more questions. But outside of soccer or football, what's kind of, you know, talk to us about your other passions, or what would you say are kind of your other hobbies, I guess?
Man, I don't even know. You know,
I see that Lynn jersey back there.
Yeah, I like basketball. I don't watch it as much, mainly just because it's like late at night. Like I'm a Denver Nuggets fan. I'm not staying up till like 12 to watch every single game. I was pretty dedicated to do so during high school, but now that like I have like a whole job and everything, I just kind of want to like wind down and relax and not feel anxious for another 4 hours.
Right before you go to bed.
Like,
makes sense.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, like I've wanted to dabble in some other stuff. Kind of going back to like the "Who are you?" question that I keep like kind of like, now that I think about it, that is a question I keep asking myself like constantly. Like, what's the next kind of thing I want to do? Photography always has been something that's kind of interested me. I've not really gotten into it that much, but like I've been traveling different places like Vancouver, Seattle, and New York, and just kind of like thinking of like how I could like set up a frame to look good and all this kind of stuff. And it'd be cool to like learn more so the actual like specific ins and outs of that.
Awesome.
What else? Also, I love music. You know, I love talking about music. I feel like there's kind of there's an art to it outside of just like understanding the lyrics. You know, like the music itself, like how it makes you feel, how you can kind of portray that. One of my favorite genres is like this like very like niche like 80s like Japanese city pop. Like it kind of, for me, it takes me into like another world. You know, you can just kind of close your eyes and just imagine a different picture, and I think that's pretty cool. So that's another thing. That's also a video essay I want to do. Like I don't want to specifically just always do football content. I want to kind of like branch out sometimes. I did a video about NASCAR literally like a few months ago, and that was awesome. Honestly like my favorite project of the entire year, just because it was so personal to me. And like, you know, it's that personal touch that I feel is what makes me want to continue doing this so much.
That's sweet.
Talking about my life, talking about my experiences, talking about like how I feel about these certain football topics. Honestly, I'm kind of exploring myself with like doing this interview.
Dude, I'm honestly
making life decisions on the box to box.
Yeah, I'm honestly
like
gonna
everything that I've held inside. And everything that I've held inside is just like starting to come out at this point. I don't know. It's
I love it. Though. I'm gonna go on Spotify right now and look up Japanese city music or Japanese city pop and see what.
I got a playlist, bro. I could totally.
Let's go.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
No, we'll go down that rabbit hole. So if you had to make a suggestion, Andre says he's going to pick this up. Who do you start with? Just give us an artist or two, or maybe even a specific song. You're like, hey, for the noob, this is where you start.
All right, so for the noob, you start out with like the one that's always being recommended to people on YouTube. Like that's what kind of started this whole thing. Plastic Love by I think Maria Takeuchi or something.
Okay.
That is just something, when I first heard it, was just completely out of this world. It was so unique and I just loved it. It kind of just, it makes you feel, there's a term for it. I completely forgot what the term for it was, but it's like a nostalgia that you feel that you've never actually experienced before in the past.
Oh shit.
I think that's really the best way to explain it. So yeah, for the noob, yeah, definitely like Plastic Love. There's this other one by I think Taiko Nuki. It's called 4 a.m. That's really good. Stay With Me by Miki Matsubara is really good. That's like another one that really popped up during also like TikTok, like 2020 TikTok. Once you go through those, though, one of my favorite artists, I don't really know why, it's just this very, very like upbeat, just, I don't know, but it's just, you know, it's something you want to dance to, despite the fact that I have no dance moves. Anri, that's the singer.
What was that?
But yeah, it's Anri, so it's ANRI.
Okay.
And pretty much everything from her, especially from the album called Timely. I sound like a real geek right now.
No, this is fucking great.
Like this.
This is awesome.
No, I love it.
This is awesome, dude.
But yeah,
I love it.
Okay, awesome, man. Really quick, and I promise I will give, but just hearing you talk, this is really interesting. I'll give Alina the floor here in a second. But you mentioned like these other interests, and Andre talked about that, some of the other interests that you have. When are we going to see maybe I haven't stumbled across it yet. I'm not sure if you have another channel outside of the Tried and True Maqwell channel. I mean, just hearing you talk about these other interests and you mentally exploring a lot of this, I mean, are we going to expect to see another channel or two pop up that allows people to go down those rabbit holes that you have mentally? Or like when are you going to maybe bring some of this to life past football?
I don't know. I think it's just a matter of finding an editor so I can actually have time to do this, because I am just a one-man team at the moment, and like, yeah, I wish I had time to like explore a lot of these different things. I just never do. Like, there's so many things I'd like to read, Wikipedia articles I'd like to read. I have an athletic subscription that I've barely used despite paying an ungodly amount of money for it.
Same.
So yeah, no, it's just kind of, you know, it's a matter of just making more time for it. That's the big thing. Once I can figure that out, I'd love to do more of it. I don't know if I do it on my main channel or the other channels. I'm not too sure. Actually, like one of the big goals I want to do is like kind of stream more. I feel like that would be kind of fun. I feel like I've very much lost my touch in video games for a while. I'd like to get that back, and it's always fun streaming because it just feels like there's a better way to get in touch with your viewers. It's the closest way, I'd say, because you're just interacting with them for hours on end, and that's always been pretty cool to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think Alina would agree.
Yeah. I love live streaming. I would also like to start making actual videos and editing, but I never find I never find the time for that, so I just stick to live streaming. But it's definitely a very vast and different experience.
Are you on YouTube or Twitch?
Twitch.
Yeah. Big FIFA streamer. So what would you stream, Maqwell? Like would it be like Alina and you could just you just jump on the FIFA train, or is there something you're like, what? Like even in the lens of football, I would go a different route. I would mix it up and go eFootball or Football Manager, or I just stream something else entirely. Yeah,
Football Manager would be definitely one. Like I recently, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Zealand. Like I visited him in New York, and I was part of one of his Football Manager streams. I wasn't entirely interested in like the whole like all of his players and like the lore and stuff, because I was kind of in my own world, like thinking, damn, this would be kind of cool to do with like, I don't know, the Vietnamese national team or something, just win the World Cup with them. That's always been pretty cool. So yeah, I'd like to do that. I feel like also just those kind of live reactions as well. It's always kind of fun just looking back at them every single time I've done like a watch along and stuff. Like watch alongs are really fun to do. So I'd love to do more of those. I think just like, I don't know, man. Like I've always had this nice little like feeling just talking to my viewers on the chat. So like I don't mind just literally going into like the just chatting and just like chilling for like a couple hours. Like I feel like that's just pretty cool. But I guess I just have to explore it more once I find the time to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, if you haven't checked out Zealand, by the way, the guy has a fantastic channel. He actually he almost commentates the Football Manager matches as they're happening. Like he got the perfect voice for it. Like
he's really so good at it.
So good.
He does like actual sports events too. Like
does
awesome.
he? Okay, but he needs to be doing that because his commentary and his voice are perfect for it. But he really owns it, and he's drawing in a hell of an audience. I think he's probably like, I don't know, when it goes live. At least when I see him on Twitch, it's like circa 1,000.
No, he gets a very good viewer base. Yeah.
He's got a really good viewer base. So he's, and again, just Football Manager and him being him. I love that. So awesome, man. Alina, did you have any questions for Maqwell before we get close to wrapping up here?
Yeah. I have a couple questions. Well, first of all, I love the channel, love the way you edit, and especially the thumbnails. I like the first thing that I noticed was just amazingly edited, beautiful thumbnails. So, but my question is, I'm always fascinated with like how people get kind of into the football world. So I was wondering what made you fall in love with the sport.
It kind of goes all the way back to World Cup 2010. I couldn't really go into specifics because I think it was just a completely different sport that just really caught my eye. Yeah. And from there, I just like, for a while, when you're like 10 years old and actually have like bigger dreams than just being a content creator, you want to be like a footballer or something. So I was like, I try and like take a football around for a while. I play with my dad, realized that like I had the stamina of like a wooden plank, so that was never going to happen. So yeah, I think it was just like kind of diving into World Cup 2010. And then from there, I know a lot of you guys could probably relate to this. I mean, like coverage in the U.S. throughout like the beginning of the mid 2010s was non-existent. So I kind of grew up watching football through YouTube, like all those skill compilations and everything. You had like Ronaldinho doing all these crazy things, like Jogo Bonito. I didn't even know what Jogo Bonito was until like last year, but I had been watching it since I was like 10 years old. And then like the Messi comps, the Ronaldo comps. All of the goals you'd see, when YouTube wasn't throwing content IDs everywhere. It was a pretty interesting world. You'd see like these obscure like Nike commercials as well. I remember rewatching like the Nike commercials all the damn time, especially the one where it's like Paolo Maldini and Eric Cantona versus a bunch of fucking like devils. Like,
Yeah.
that was always pretty cool.
I just remember that one.
The one
Yeah.
in the Roman Coliseum. That shit was fucking fire.
Oh yeah.
Jorge Campos was the
I
keeper.
actually like, hell yeah, I actually like the Brazil Portugal when they start playing against each other like throughout the actual stadium, like underneath like the stadium crowd, like the stadium seats and everything, like they're going
like
through,
concessions
like,
and all that.
and
Yeah.
and they're just kicking the ball around and playing like for the hell of it. That's one of my favorite commercials by far too.
There was one with Jerry Seinfeld. I remember it was like Portugal and Brazil just kind of like they were like walking out for a match, but then all of a sudden like the ball drops, like the ref drops the ball, and then all the players just run back into the locker room and start playing with it. That was also
I think that might have been the one I'm talking about. I think that was it. I think that was it. 'Cause that sounds really familiar. Again, this one's really old. Figo was at the top of it. Okay, yeah. So we're talking about the same one. Let me ask you though, what's your favorite Joga Bonito commercial?
I think it was like I can't remember like any of them, but like I remember there was one with like Ronaldinho and I think the crossbar or something. Yeah, that was like the one that like is etched in my mind for forever.
He opened up the cleats in the case, and they were just these brand new magical things. He puts them on and just starts hitting the fucking crossbar.
Yeah. I
loved it. My favorite one was Zlatan versus Ronaldo. I thought that was.
Ooh, I forgot about
awesome.
that.
That was so sick.
Yeah, the little they were just going 1v1 over video with Cantona. That shit was great.
My favorite one was.
And then there was the.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no,
you go. You go.
Okay, mine was the ship when they did the 3v3 tournament with Cantona overlooking everybody, the little cage.
Oh yeah,
with the scorpion. Remember the scorpion? That shit was sick.
Yeah, I remember, dude. Yeah, jeez, man. Cantona was the perfect dude to have for those commercials.
100%,
like,
dude. 100%.
It couldn't be anybody else.
Anyway,
but look, man. Actually, you know what? I got one more because you are an American fan. So I want to ask this question because when this term was coined, I had a massive problem with it. Who is the real LeBron James of soccer?
Who's the real LeBron James of soccer?
It's a great question.
I mean, like
past or present, bro. LeBron James to me, when you talk about that in the basketball argument, it's not for the context of who's the best player in the world right now. It's who's the best ever. And I feel like Americans throw that around so much. Oh, Pulisic is the LeBron James of soccer. I don't even know if he's my most impactful American player ever. Who in your mind is the real LeBron?
Firstly, LeBron James of soccer, definitely not Pulisic, because that's Mr. President, actually, the commander.
Yeah, there you go.
I like that name much better. In terms of like the LeBron James of soccer, I always look at LeBron James as more than just a player, you know. Even if you didn't know about basketball, you knew about LeBron James. And I feel like there wasn't really anyone in like the US sphere outside of probably someone who was an American, David Beckham.
That's a good point.
You don't think well, so when guys like Dempsey or McBride came to England, did like Dempsey help his case at all? Or I think Donovan also tried a stint at Bayern once upon a time.
Tim Howard
worked out. He went to Mexico. Tim Howard, I consider him to be our Secretary of Defense. That's different.
But if we're talking about like the LeBron James impact, I just haven't really seen that. You know, like that.
That's fair.
That kind of that knowledge from people who don't even watch the sport, who aren't even into sports. You know. Knew LeBron James during his peak and still know about him. And I just don't really see anyone outside of, you know, David Beckham, who, you know, his movies also kind of help with that. You know, like the when I first talked about soccer to my parents, it wasn't about like any of the current players or anything. Well, it was about a current player. It was more so my mom talking to me about this movie called Bend It Like Beckham. That was like the first impression. Yeah. I haven't watched it still. I gotta watch it.
Wait, what? You haven't seen it?
I haven't.
Oh, man. Yeah, you should watch it. It's a good one. I mean, I guess now, especially this day and age, it's a great one for inclusion of women in the sport. But just in general, like it was. I don't know. I still, as someone who was coming up and playing as a male player on this side of the world, it still resonated with me heavily.
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys, before we wrap up here.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah. I just want to ask you, how'd you guys get into the whole, like, you know, content creation? Like, what made you want to do it? it always like interests me, like hearing these different stories.
You know, I'll give my take, and I'll let because I think me and Andre could probably wrap it up into one answer here to kind of tandem it. Alina probably have a completely different answer, and I want to hear.
Oh man,
I never. She and I have talked about it a little bit, but I would love to hear her answer. So for like me and Andre, I think we've always the idea of being a content creator and imposing your opinion. The way that we have real football arguments, like at a bar, watching the game or whatever, we always thought it was a cool idea. I always thought it was a cool idea. I don't know. Maybe I didn't have the balls to like do it, like ever actually like try it, go live. After COVID happened, and with the launch of our own platform and goals, I kind of thought that this would be a great opportunity to just put ourselves out there, right? People are doing it everywhere with COVID. Let's just, we have our own footballing opinions. We have an idea for a show where we don't just talk about football, but we get to introduce creators to other people. Mm-hmm. It was a unique enough concept, and I thought that while I don't feel like I'm a content creator at all, I'm not scared to kind of just put my ideas out there. I'm not scared for like the backlash that comes with that. So I think it finally just took like me anyway. I don't want to speak for Andre, but me just getting out of my comfort zone and just be like, all right, let's just do it. Let's just go live. We'll talk about it in our way. Because me and Andre, when we would go to the bar and watch games together, we would have legit arguments all the time, and group text legit arguments all the time. Almost to the point of like, bro, fuck off. Like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, it was legitimate. Like they would get to that point, and so we were like, I think we have like in all honesty, bro, I think we have enough where we could put some things out there. People would either agree or disagree, but there might be something here where we could just find a way to own our own voice and create some cool content. I still don't consider myself a content creator. I still think I'm getting my feet wet and trying to understand how to best bring value to any one person that would watch this show. But that's kind of how we did it. It started just with us being real friends and this common interest in football. And it also helps for anybody who maybe is tuning in as a new user or a new viewer, like Andre and I. It also helps that we're probably on the opposite end of every major rivalry you could probably fucking think of. Like Barca, Real Madrid. I'm a Barca fan. He's a Real Madrid fan. U.S. men's national team in Mexico. I support both in major tournaments, but I was born in the U.S., so I have an affinity with them. And Andre was born in Mexico. So, we always have very contrasting opinions, but I think that makes for good content. And that's why I wanted to do it. If we just agreed on everything, we probably never would have done this show. Yeah. Like, in all honesty. There's nothing there. It's like we constantly agree with each other. What's the point?
Yeah, totally.
But I think the fact that we're just on the opposite ends of rivalries makes it that much easier. What about you, Andre? That's kind of my take.
No, I think you pretty much hit the nail right on the head. I think the only thing that I would add is the fact that both of us played soccer pretty much our entire lives, right? Like, we both played in college. I ended up playing a little bit of pro. Like, soccer's been my whole life. And so I think, to his point, like, we're always like on group chats. We're always like on the Discord every single day, on Twitter. Like, soccer talk doesn't stop. Like, if you look at my phone, I probably have like 8 to 10 different group chats all about soccer. And so we got to the point where we're like, dude, let's just, instead of like doing it on our phone and just like, bantering around, let's just, execute and do something fun. And, that's kind of how the idea started. And honestly, Alina has been a fucking great addition too, because I think, the banter between Jose and I can definitely escalate, but Alina's a really good, like, she balances things out. And so I really like having her on the show. So, yeah. Alina, I don't know.
What about you, Alina?
If you want to talk about your story, yeah.
For me, I grew up around football. I actually started like playing like video games. Like, if you guys are familiar with PES, I think it has a different name now. I think it's like eFootball, but I played that game like in the early 2000s since it was called like Winning 11. So I have like a history of playing football games, and just growing up, that's really all I watched. I was slightly into tennis, but it was mostly football. I played it in schools growing up, a little bit in high school. I wanted to play it in college, but I needed like a scholarship, and it was just like at the club level, so I didn't have that much time to invest into that. But in terms of content creation, I would say because like Twitch was the main like platform that I was looking to break into, I just noticed that there was like only like a handful of like female FIFA streamers, and I thought we really needed a lot more diversity and a lot more female voice, not just in FIFA, but just in football in general, because there's not really that many of us. So I wanted to make that number bigger and start a channel and hopefully maybe inspire other maybe like younger girls that are starting to like soccer, or maybe just in general football fans who want to start streaming or want to start like specifically playing FIFA, to just, you know,
that's awesome.
Give them that reason to start doing that.
True that, man. I think we all had our own unique reasons for jumping in. I think it's always right. Something like this is always fueled by passion. But I think it's also important, right? Like, you know, to have something that's unique to you. And that needs to come out in your content. And I feel like we've all been saying this whole time, right? Maqwell, you have something unique, man. You mentioned before you think you're not being able to reach that 1 million number. I think it's closer than you think. I think 100K is probably one of the toughest goals to break through. And from there, it's just a matter of when, not if. So for me, man, I think your content is powerful. It's unique. It tells stories that others either don't know about or are not willing to tell. So whether you keep it on the football train or you move into something else that's more creative and allows you to bring more passion to your videos, man, I could confidently say, at least everybody here on Box to Box, we're super excited for that. And hopefully, man, we get a chance to get you on the show again, because I mean, I would love to again, even if we kind of move the talk itself from football into something else. This is easily one of my favorite episodes. So, Maqwell, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on. We'll see how many people disagree with your takes as far as the round of 16-11 goes. I have a feeling that they'll probably disagree with all of us as a whole, especially in the back line. But we'll see what happens. But guys, that's episode 18. We're done. We're in the books. I want to thank the viewers really quick for sticking around. If you stuck around till the very end, we really appreciate it. Be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. And again, if you disagree with any take, which I'm sure you do, let us know down in the comments. I want to see your 11, your spicy takes. If you guys are willing to criticize us, put your 11 down below so I can do the same back to you. All right, guys. Outside of that, great show. Maqwell, thank you so much. Andre, Alina, our usual mainstays, thank you both so much. And until next time, we'll see you then.